The 4-day workweek is no longer just hype. For the majority of candidates, moving to a 4-day workweek for 5 days pay is the number one new and innovative benefit that would draw them to a job. Think about that. The number one benefit. And it's not just some academic pilot anymore. A fifth of organizations have already started exploring the idea. But many chief HR officers feel unsure about how to get started. There are three perceived barriers that typically get in the way, but the good news is you can overcome them all. The first barrier is leadership buy-in. 71% of HR leaders told us it's their biggest challenge. Leaders throughout the business have concerns about productivity and implementation. So how do you convince them to experiment with the 4-day workweek? Well, those who've successfully gotten leadership buy-in linked the 4-day workweek to business goals. In other words, speak to a leader's language and be clear about what the 4-day workweek will deliver. And to ease leaders' concerns about risk and change management, gradually move from pilot to wide-scale implementation. Crawling before you walk and walking before you run lets you continually modify your approach and respond to challenges as they come up. The second perceived barrier is continuity of services. Basically, the idea that work will break down and chaos will reign if everyone has Fridays off. But the reality is, the 4-day workweek doesn't just mean a long weekend. You can structure your approach in different ways to meet the service needs of your organization. Start by deciding how many hours per week are required and when the extra day off will be. For example, the beverage company Pernod Ricard decided on a 4.5-day workweek in its US offices. Employees work an extra hour Monday to Thursday during summer to allow for an office-wide half-day on Friday. This condensed workweek provides flex whilst meeting the organization's required working hours. In organizations who need daily employee coverage for crucial business functions or customer support, the additional day off comes on staggered days. So some employees take Friday off while others take a different day to ensure continuity of services. Okay. The third perceived barrier comes down to fairness. Some organizations assume that a 4-day workweek is only feasible for desk workers, and this doesn't seem fair for location-bound employees. But frontline workers can also succeed with a 4-day workweek. In fact, since many of these workers can't enjoy remote work, a 4-day workweek is actually a way to drive equity. So, how do you make it work for everyone? An interesting example comes from a local government body in the UK that's piloting a 4-day workweek for rubbish collectors. To set teams up for success, they reviewed collection routes to limit wasted time and facilitate more intense, productive work time. To explore the 4-day workweek for desk workers and frontliners, focus on productivity and outputs rather than time spent, and that'll help with leadership buy-in too. And partner with business unit leaders to identify what approach works best for their teams. So, as you see, whilst the 4-day workweek may at first feel a bit daunting, the perceived barriers are not insurmountable. Connect the model to business outcomes, innovate with hours and days to ensure business continuity, and squash the perception that it's just for desk workers. For your next step, check out our roadmap to implementing a 4-day workweek, and then connect with one of our advisors who can help you develop a plan for success.